There's this rule I heard a while ago and brushed off like it was obvious. If you can't buy it multiple times, you can't afford it. At first, I thought it was extreme, like, who's buying things multiple times? But the more I think about it, the more I realize how much trouble ignoring this rule caused me. Because I've bought things I could technically afford, but only once. One purchase wiped me out. One expense made me anxious. One bad decision put me in recovery mode. That's not affordability. That's gambling. I think a lot of us confuse having the money with being able to afford something. Just because the money is sitting there doesn't mean it's safe to spend. If buying something leaves you stressed afterward, checking your balance, hoping nothing else goes wrong, you couldn't afford it. You just survived it. I've done this with clothes, tech, food, subscriptions, random wants. Stuff I didn't need, but convinced myself I deserved. And yeah, it felt good for a moment. But then reality showed up. Bills still exist. Emergencies still happen. Life still asks for money when you least expect it. That's when regret hits. The rule isn't about being cheap, it's about margin. If you can buy something 3 times over and still be okay, then it doesn't control you. But if buying it once puts pressure on your future self, you're borrowing stress. And future you always pays interest. I also realized this rule exposes impulse spending. If you know you can't buy it twice, you hesitate. You question the purchase. You slow down. That pause saves you. I wish I learned that earlier, because a lot of my financial stress wasn't about low income. It was about bad decisions stacked on top of each other. I wasn't broke. I was careless. And that's a harder thing to admit. This rule doesn't make you rich, but it keeps you stable. And stability is underrated. The more I think about this rule, the more I realize how uncomfortable it is. Because it doesn't just apply to big purchases. It shows up in small, everyday decisions. Food, Ubers, subscriptions, clothes you might need, tech upgrades you don't actually need. All those little things add up. I used to tell myself, it's not that expensive. I'll make it back. It's just this once. But it was never just once. It was death by 1,000 small justifications. And the scary part is, none of those purchases felt reckless in the moment. They felt normal. That's how lifestyle creep gets you. You slowly raise what feels acceptable without raising your actual stability. Social media makes this worse. You see people your age traveling, upgrading, living fast. You don't see their debt. You don't see their stress. So you try to keep up. You buy things to feel like you're not falling behind, to feel successful, to feel grown. But buying things to feel okay is expensive. I also realized ego plays a huge role. Sometimes I bought stuff not because I wanted it, but because I didn't want to feel broke. That's dangerous, because pride makes bad financial decisions feel justified. Another thing this rule exposed for me is how fragile my finances actually were. If one unexpected expense could throw everything off, then I wasn't safe. I was balanced on a knife edge. And living like that messes with your head. You start avoiding checking your account. You get anxious when your phone buzzes. You delay dealing with money altogether. That's not freedom. That's quiet stress. This rule forces you to think long term. Not, can I buy this today? But, can I handle the consequences tomorrow? It makes you respect your future self. It also teaches patience. Some things you want now make more sense later. Not because you don't deserve them, but because timing matters. I've started seeing money less as something to spend and more as something to protect. Not hoard, protect. Because money isn't just about buying stuff. It's about options. Options to say no. options to walk away, options to breathe. When you spend without margin, you lose options. And once I understood that, this rule stopped feeling restrictive. It started feeling relieving, like permission to slow down. I'm not saying this rule is perfect, and I'm definitely not pretending I follow it all the time. But it made me rethink how I spend. So I want to ask you, do you have a rule like this when it comes to money? Something simple that keeps you from making dumb decisions? Or do you mostly go by feeling and deal with the stress later? Have you ever bought something that you technically could afford but immediately regretted? And how much of your spending do you think comes from pressure, social media, comparison, wanting to feel like you're not behind? If you've figured out a system that works for you, budgeting, rules, limits, habits, I'd genuinely like to hear it. Not to judge, just to learn. Money stress is one of those things almost everyone deals with, but nobody talks about honestly. So if you're comfortable, drop a comment. Someone reading it might need it.